Hi there, my name is Nicole with morningchores.com. Today's video I'm sharing my sustainable, all-natural, budget-friendly laundry routine. We're going to talk about soap options, whether I use dryer sheets, scent beads, you name it, we're going to discuss it. So maybe grab your laundry basket full of laundry that needs folded and we can fold laundry together. First, let's talk about the tools or the methods that we use to wash our clothes. You can wash them by hand, or you can use a washing machine, and there's all kinds of tools in between. I use a washing machine almost every day because it's efficient and it saves me a lot of time. I have washed my clothes by hand. My daughter wanted to try it for an experiment, and I do have all the tools to wash my clothes by hand just in case we happen to lose power. But we've never lost power long enough where we didn't have enough clothes to get through. But I do think that washing clothes by hand is very effective. I think that it's easier to pay closer attention to the stains and to wash better in the smellier areas of our clothes, whereas in the washing machine, they all kind of just get thrown in there and they're washed at once. When it comes to washing machines, there's all kinds to choose from. Now, you can go with a top loader machine like I have, or you can go with a front loading machine. I personally like the top loading machines better. I think they agitate better, and I just like the way the clothes get cleaned. I know the front loading machines are very popular right now, but I would really encourage you to do your research and figure out what gets the clothes more clean. One thing I found in my cleaning process or laundry learning process is that the number one thing that gets the clothes clean when you're in the act of washing them is the agitation. So finding a machine that does good agitation. Now all the new machines, especially when you open them up with a top loading machine, is they don't have the pole that sticks up through the middle to agitate the clothes. Like mine doesn't have one. I really wish it did, but it doesn't. And the front loading machines, they don't have that at all. They're just washing them by going like this. So I've decided that my next machine, I want it to have that post in the middle. There's a brand called Speedy Queen that I believe does have that, and they're built kind of more in an old-fashioned way because really it comes down to the agitation. That's what gets the clothes clean. That's what shakes and moves all that dirt and soil and everything out of the clothes, along with, of course, soap, which is what we'll talk about here in a minute. Next, let's talk about water. Water is the next ingredient that you need to get your clothes clean. The question is, do you use hot water? Do you use cold water? Do you use warm water? Back in my grandmother's generation, but prior to that, it was always, use hot, warm water to get the clothes clean. And I think from a sanitation perspective, it does get the clothes more clean than cold. Cold does not really kill germs, which is why you probably need stronger soap in order to get the clothes clean, especially if you're washing in cold. One thing that I've noticed is that especially in the last decade, there's been this big push to wash your clothes in cold. Just wash everything in cold because it's more eco-friendly and saves the planet, and it's more energy efficient, and it's just more a sustainable option to wash your clothes. But what I find interesting is that once all this big push for washing in cold happened, all of a sudden we started seeing all these products come out to make our clothes smell better. So for example, you have those scent beads, you have extra rinsing agents that you can add to make your clothes smell better. But my question is, if I'm using detergent, and I'm using a machine and the agitation's going on, my clothes should be getting clean. So I'm just wondering if cold is actually getting the clothes clean. And of course it depends on the detergent, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So I decided to do my own experiment because I had always washed in cold, but the last 3 months I've been washing almost exclusively in warm to hot water. There's an occasional time I will do cold, but the biggest concern that I read about with washing in hot and warm water is that it can fade the color of your clothes and also cause them to not last as long, and it's also it consumes more energy because you're using hot and warm water. My verdict after 3 months of using almost exclusively hot and warm water is that I think the clothes are getting much cleaner and they smell fresher. So I don't know if cold water was really getting our clothes clean. I haven't really noticed a fading going on with the color of the clothes. Now, maybe in 6 months I might notice a difference, but I don't really see enough of a difference to say, oh, I'm no longer washing my clothes in hot and warm, because the colors are just fading away. I just haven't noticed that. So for me, I just found that washing in warm to hot water is more effective in getting my clothes clean. The next element in our laundry routine is the soap. And there's lots of opinions, there's lots of marketing gimmicks that are convincing us to buy this product and that product to get our clothes clean and fresh. When I started my laundry routine as a wife and a mother, I started using Tide, and then I switched to Tide Sensitive and I believe Arm & Hammer Sensitive, because the Sensitive had no perfumes or dyes, which I felt like was a step up from the regular from a health standpoint, because your skin is an organ and it absorbs everything it comes into contact with, whatever you put on your skin, what you're being exposed to. And I understand we can't control everything we're exposed to, but I felt like with laundry it was an easy switch, and it was one area that we would be less exposed. So I tried to look for better options in that regard. I ended up switching to 7th generation over 5 years ago, and I felt like overall it did fine. The only discrepancy I had, or that I found, is that when it came to my husband's workout clothes, I just could not get the sweat smell out of them. So I would always have to wash them 2 or 3 times, and that was the same with the Tide. So it didn't matter if it was 7th generation or Tide, I always had to wash them at least 2 times, and it was kind of frustrating. A few months ago, I had a friend recommend soap nuts. She had been using them and loved them. I was very skeptical, but I decided to give them a try, and I have been blown away by how well these clean their clothes. So just to give you some information, soap nuts are also known as soap berries, and they come from the dried fruit shells of the Sapindus mucorosi tree, which I probably butchered, I apologize, but it's a species native to India and Nepal. Soap nuts are natural and they're biodegradable, so they're a sustainable, all-natural, eco-friendly option. And they contain something called saponins. That's what makes the suds. These are also great for people that have sensitive skin. So if you have issues with allergies, this is a great option. So again, I was very skeptical that these were actually going to clean my clothes, especially with my husband's workout clothes. And I felt like those were the true tall tale sign that these were going to clean the clothes. And I'm happy to report that when I use the soap nuts with the warm to hot water, I can get my husband's workout clothes clean in one load, which is super energy efficient, because I was probably wasting a lot of energy and time trying to get those clothes clean. And it's being done in a sustainable way that is good for our skin, and it's super cheap too. Super, super cheap. I figured it out, and these cost, it's like 0.02 cents per load to wash a large load of clothes. So it's the cheapest soap that you can use to do laundry. It's cheaper than even the homemade stuff. So I highly, highly recommend these. I'm going to show you how to use them. So the first thing you do is, my soap nuts came with this little baggie, and I'll have some linked in the description box below. But you want to place 4 of these soap nuts into your baggie. And then once you have your soap nuts in the baggie, you want to soak them in water until they get soft. Now, if you want to, you can just put these in the bottom of your washing machine and turn it on and let it fill with water and just let it sit there for a little bit. I can't do that because I'm a mom and I get distracted, and I would forget to come back and put the clothes in. So what I do is I'll run it under the faucet and just kind of squeeze until they become soft. You know your soap nuts are ready to go if when you squeeze them, they start sudsing up. But once you have them ready to go, you just stick them in your washing machine and you do normal laundry. And what's great about these soap nuts is that you can do 6 to 10 loads for each little bag that you put together. So there's 4 soap nuts in here. So depending on how long it takes you to get through 6 to 10 loads, I was keeping track by using a dry erase marker and just putting a dot on the back of my machine right here every time I did a load. But I found that I do about 6 to 10 loads of laundry a week. So I just make a mental note that every Monday I change out the soap nuts. My laundry's in, so I just run my washing machine as normal. Another thing I noticed with the soap nuts is that it gets the clothes a lot softer. They're just so much more softer than when I use the other detergents. And to me, that's another bonus. And I wasn't really expecting that. So that's another benefit to using the soap nuts that I wanted to share. Now let's talk about stain removal. And this is another area where there's a lot of products and it's difficult to try to figure out what actually works. So what I use, and I will share my chemical product that I do use occasionally, and that is bleach. I use bleach to whiten my whites. I just have not found a more natural alternative that works just as good or better. So if you know of one, I would love to hear in the comments below, because I don't particularly like using bleach, but that's the only thing I found that actually works. My next and most favorite stain removal is hydrogen peroxide. This stuff gets a lot of things out of fabric. It gets out blood, chocolate. I've gotten, there was milk, chocolate milk that spilled on my rug, and it not only got the chocolate stain out of the rug, but it got that milk smell out as well. I've used this on so many different things, and it really does work very well. Another thing that works well is dish soap. Personally, I think Dawn dish soap works better than this brand, but any dish soap works. You can just stick it right on the stain and scrub it and just let it sit, and then rinse it and just kind of rinse and repeat until it slowly fades away. My washer's finished, so now it's time to dry, and I use my dryer most of the time. But I do also use a clothesline. A clothesline is definitely a more energy efficient, save money kind of way of drying clothes. Also, I just think the sun, you know, just makes the clothes smell so good. It just has this clean, fresh smell. Also, the sun is known to kill bacteria, so it's just another way to sanitize your clothes. It can also help whites look brighter. Found my soap nuts, so I'm just gonna leave those in the bottom for my next load. Now when it comes to dryer sheets and things like that, I don't use any dryer sheets. What I use instead are dryer balls. These are made of 100% wool, and you can make them yourself. It's a lot cheaper to make them yourself. I bought one skein of 100% wool yarn. This was probably 3 to 4 years ago now, and I think I paid around $8. I believe it was $8 for one skein of 100% wool yarn, and I was able to make 5 of these. It was way cheaper than buying these outright. I don't know how much they are. I will link some in the description box below if you don't want to make some, but they were super easy. You can find tutorials online. But I usually put 2 to 3 of these in the dryer with the clothes, and it just helps remove static and things like that. But I've noticed since using the soap nuts that I don't really have static. And I also think that if you wear a lot of clothing with synthetic fibers in it, that also creates more static. So if you're wearing more cotton and linen and natural fibers, I just don't get the static. So that's something that I've noticed, but I still put them in there. Sometimes I will add a few dots of essential oil if I do want to add a scent into my laundry. Sometimes it's nice. So I'll add a few dots of lavender essential oil. It's usually what I use, and then I just throw them in there. And close the door, push the start button, and there you go. Nothing beats the fresh, clean smell of clothes that have been hanging in the sun all day. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you found it helpful and encouraging, and I gave you some tips on how to be more frugal, more sustainable, and make your laundry experience more enjoyable. You can also take the time to head over to morningchores.com, where there's more information on gardening, homesteading, sustainable living. You can find the link in the description box below. Until then, we'll see you on the next video.